Welcome back to another edition of CIO Water Cooler TV, where today I want to explore how we can all avoid burnout and also have a conversation on why health and well-being is so important in the workplace right now. And I've got the perfect guest to talk about all this and much more. So, Katy, would you mind telling everyone a little about who you are and what you do?
So my name is Katy Brown and I run a company called the Vibrancy Hub with the co-founder and my best friend, Laura Bamber. And the Vibrancy Hub is a wellbeing provider, a wellbeing consultancy, and we aim to do what it says on the tin. So we aim to help people to ultimately feel more vibrant, which we do by generally calming things down first and helping people to self-manage stress so that they've got more space to tap into what makes them feel brilliant so that they can feel vibrant in themselves. And we do that through one-to-one coaching. So one-to-one personal coaching. We do retreat days and we run private programs and we work very heavily with organizations as well. So that's what we love to do.
Fantastic. And there's so much I'm looking forward to exploring with you today, because I think one of the biggest changes in recent years is that people could no longer just check out the office at 5 p.m. and forget about work, because the tech in our pockets and in our bags, etc., is making everyone feel like they must be present 24/7, and predictably burnout is on the increase. So, Katy, what can business leaders tactically put in place to ensure a happy and healthier workforce?
I always start with the why first.
Yeah.
So I will definitely answer the what as well. But in terms of this, so we're approached by different organizations who, depending on who is coming to us, so whether it's somebody from the people team or whether it's a CEO or somebody that's a leader of teams, it depends on what the motivation is behind it, because some organizations see this, I guess, as a bit of a tick box exercise, that this is something they should do, and others happily are starting to really see why this is kind of non-negotiable and something that really needs to happen. So, for example, recently we've been working with a fintech company in London, and the CEO is somebody that gets it completely. So they've been on their own wellbeing journey, they've had therapy themselves, and they know that they want all of their people to access tools and support that are genuinely going to help them to thrive. So that's kind of the why behind kind of what needs to come through from people before they start having conversations with us. In terms of what, so we've been in business now for 5 years and we've been trialing lots of different methodologies and different structures and ways of working with people. And the best outcome we've seen so far is when we partner with people and collaborate on a really integrated approach. So that can involve a wellbeing champions program, we call it. So we would work. So for example, at the moment, we're just tying up the way that we're going to work with somebody for next year. And so the wellbeing champions program will run for 6 months. So that group of 8 to 10 people will come to a workshop once a month for 6 months, where we'll be really diving deep and teaching them lots of different wellbeing, mindset, emotional health tools, so that they are going to be really well equipped, so that they can therefore go away afterwards and be teachers themselves. So they need to be people that are quite influential at whatever stage they are within the company, and they then have these tools to be able to spread the message wider. So that's really effective. And we do that alongside celebrating wellbeing dates. So for example, something like International Women's Day or Stress Awareness Week, which has been very busy recently. We host standalone workshops around those dates so that it's accessible for all. So we can make sure that everybody within an organization can come and hear the same messages and really learn those tools on the day as well. And then we do one-to-one coaching. So for most organizations that we work with would also get access to me for a day a month. And within that, there'd be, say, 3 to 4 sessions where somebody can literally go onto a system and book in and have private, safe one-to-one coaching as well. So that very joined up approach is the best way that we have seen organizations really flourish within this sphere. The other thing, which I'm excited to talk to you about because we just wrapped it last week, was called our Women Rising program, which was a pilot scheme. And in answer to your question, like what can leaders do? Yeah. This has been something that we've been thinking about for years and is specifically supporting working with just women and helping them to raise awareness themselves, if they're not already aware of the very complex nuances around the unconscious bias that exists within the structure that we're all trying to work in, the patriarchal structure, and to help them to create some space there so they can let go of some of the things that might be holding them back and importantly, across this program, it was all to do with helping people to really lead into their authentic leadership style, which essentially means helping them to reconnect who they really are, feel safe to bring all the parts of themselves to the workplace, so that as a leader, they're bringing so much more of themselves and people are really benefiting from that, as is the organization. So that was, that's a really brilliant thing to consider if you have women within your organization that you would love to see thriving and also rising throughout the company.
And so much of what we're talking about here does have to come from the top down. And it's so important, especially when thinking about transforming the entire culture of a business. But of course, the old saying goes that you can't help anyone else until you put on your own oxygen mask first. So how can individuals who operate in those high-level positions manage stress levels and achieve a work-life balance? And then when they've done that themselves, then obviously that can trickle down to everybody else. But how are you seeing that happen?
Oh, what a great question. Okay, so again, I would definitely start with the why here. So this is, for example, I've had, so we're talking about individuals now, right? So I've had a woman, a new female client come along this week on a personal one-to-one coaching basis, who is a leader in her field. She's kind of thriving, very much so in her career, and from an external perspective, looks extremely successful. She has no work-life balance whatsoever, and is definitely feeling quite stressed a lot of the time, and has come to me because she's sick of feeling like that and wants it to feel different. What I said to her is, I really feel that it's quite a responsibility for me in terms of, there's no point in me just chucking a load of tools and tips at somebody and hoping that they'll stick, and asking them for more things to go away and think about, add to their already overwhelming list of what they've got to think about. It's like more pressure, more expectation. Instead, what I help people do is to really clear the decks first and create that space to be able to move forward. So the reason why I'm talking about the why here is because what I would say to anybody is to think about, so if you didn't do this work, if you didn't come to work with a coach or get this type of support, what is it that you're facing at the moment? So, for example, if you carried on exactly as you are, feeling quite stressed, maybe a lot of the time, or not with a great work-life balance, what's the problem there? So actually carving out some time to connect with why that's a problem, getting a piece of paper and a pen and seriously considering that, and considering the impact it's having, how it's making you feel, what you might be missing out on, getting clear on that, and then getting clear on what change you want to see. So how is it that you want to feel differently? And why is that important? How would that impact your life? What meaning would that have for you? That's really critical for anybody to go away and do, because only when you get clear on that have you got the real impetus and motivation, like an anchor, to actually be committed to making real change. Otherwise, the change just doesn't stick. So that's definitely the first thing. Then I would take people into, I think, as well as leaders, just also remembering their responsibility as in terms of leading other people. So, if you've got your people, the people on your team, and you want them to be feeling good and healthy and thriving within themselves, so that they can absolutely be the most impactful within their role for your organization, and also so their energy is sustainable and they are retained, they stay within the company and they're enjoying it. For all those reasons, if you know you want your people to feel that way, you have to be leading by example. And that can come in two ways. So that can be doing the work yourself and absolutely leading by example. What an absolute dream that would be for anybody that is being led by you. And also, if you're not there yet and you know that this is work you need to do, that's okay, because the intention is there, the willingness is there, and you can verbally at least be encouraging others and giving that permission to others to take the time and space to do this work as well. So I think that's really important to remember in terms of the responsibility of the leader. And then in terms of what they can literally practically do. So I would always start with very practical and simple tools around lifestyle. So for example, the first 60 and last 60 minutes of the day are really critical. So if we imagine here somebody that is managing a very busy, intense schedule, busy diary, very full mind, day full of meetings, really feeling that intensity, the first 60 minutes of your day, the research shows, are crucial in terms of how you step into the rest of it and the energy that you have, the mindset that you have. So just considering what that looks like, it might mean getting up a bit earlier. It might mean really shifting what you currently do. And we're talking here about undoing habits. So this is not super easy. This is why coaches are required. But this is about considering what that first hour looks like. So certainly, as you mentioned at the beginning around technology, certainly rather than picking up a phone or interacting with technology straight away, which if you use your phone as an alarm is quite tricky. So have it on airplane mode or have it in another room. And really we encourage people to not get involved with their phone, to not interact with their phone or any technology for the first 60 minutes of the day. So for the people that are like, what? I would say, okay, well, let's start with 30 minutes. This is all needs to be incremental, and that's fine. Any shift is a good shift. And so for that first 60 minutes of the day, the reason why you don't want to have a phone or anything adding more information is because this mind is just coming into the waking world.
Yeah.
You need to decide, you need to notice how you're actually feeling first and what it is that you need, how you can set your energy for the day before adding more information or perhaps opinions or images or commentary as to what might influence how you then are mentally and emotionally feeling as you enter the day. So the first hour is really, really important. And that might be going for a walk outside, dark now, gross. It might be stretching and moving your body in a certain way, having music on, making a nourishing breakfast, interacting with your kids, like anything that allows you to be present and to really help to calm the mind and notice what it is that you need. In that, I would also say a morning check-in is probably, if I can get people to do one thing ever, it's probably that. It is within the first few minutes of waking up, really, breath work and a check-in. So breath work literally being slowing the breath down, deep breath in through the nose, into the chest and belly, sigh the breath out. 5, maybe 10 of those, takes a minute or two, is going to calm the nervous system. It's going to calm a busy mind and allow people to be much more centered. And then I put my hand on my heart, but then check in, literally, how am I feeling today? And to see what comes. We don't do this, right? We do not check in with how we might be feeling on any given day. And what do I need? And this is because on a certain day, that might be, well, how I'm feeling is too crammed, overwhelmed, crunchy. I've got this really packed day. There's too much going on. I just feel so distracted. And what is it that I need? I need to clear a bit of space. What can I do? If I look at my schedule, what can be moved, rescheduled? Have I said yes to something this evening that I just need to not be going to? Can I remove that? Do I need to take a couple of breaks throughout this day to take 2 minutes to do that bit of breath work? What is it that I need? On another day, that will be, I feel flat as a pancake, actually. Yeah. What I need is to shift the energy. So what I need is to move my body, what I need is to put on some music, maybe call a fun friend, maybe go and do a piece of work that I know is going to lift my energy. Like, it's so important to notice what it is that we need. Another thing that I would suggest, really, people entering the working day, like head in, diving in and staying in that very elevated energy for the entire day. This is why we end up crashing and running on empty. It's our bodies just can't do that. So it's really important to try to start to practice, whether it's just at lunchtime, a walk outside alone at lunch with no distractions, no media would be probably the best thing you could do for yourself. But it might be mid-morning, maybe lunchtime, mid-afternoon, and a break of some description, 5 or 10 minutes to just allow your head that bit of space to disconnect from technology. Even 1 or 2 minutes just to do that breath work will make a difference. And then it's thinking about your boundaries around work. It is when you ask about work-life balance, we call it work-life blend because it's different for everybody and it's not one size fits all. So it's for somebody to really consider what they want their work-life blend to look like, what works for them. But boundaries are extremely important. And this is one of the biggest topics that we work on with individuals in terms of working out what they need to be and how to put them in place. But for example, when we were in lockdown and everyone was working from home, like how on earth people then had managed to create boundaries between the end of the working day and their laptop was still in the kitchen. So everything was blurred together. It was kind of a nightmare in that respect. So really working out what you want your boundaries to be, thinking about what they can practically look like and who you need to communicate them to. Who do you need to tell so that they can keep you accountable, so you're managing their expectations, etc. And then hopefully you're carving out more time to have an actual evening, to have a personal life, and considering what that looks like in there as well. If you've got children, it is trickier in that there are more responsibilities and not as much flex or choice in terms of how you might be spending your time. But also within that, there is also some agency, and we tend to get into habits like it might be eating dinner late, or it might be flopping in front of the TV or scrolling on your phone. And none of those things, I'm not a fun sponge, none of those things are naughty and not allowed. They all have their place. Absolutely, I do them all from time to time. And also they take up time. So when people say, I don't have any time to myself, I have never, ever been challenged on that yet and not been able to find them some time to themselves. Even if that's one night a week or half an hour on a couple of evenings where they can do something different. And the last bookend I would talk about there would be the last 60 minutes of the day. So we call this power down hour. And generally it's getting people to bed a bit earlier. People go to bed generally too late if they want to be having really good quality sleep, which happens before the hours of like 12 to 1 in the night. So they need to be going to bed a bit earlier. And whatever time they're going to sleep, to expect our bodies to just, okay, I want you to now switch off and have a wonderful, good quality night's sleep, which is one of the most powerful tools we can have to manage our stress and our well-being. It's crazy that we ask our bodies to do that. And we ask our minds, especially if we've been looking at phones or absorbing technology in that last hour. So power down hour, it's about really, again, if somebody is watching this, I definitely look at my phone and or the TV screen until pretty much the minute I go to bed. Okay, so let's reduce one of them, and let's also think about if this isn't the last 60 minutes, maybe it's the last 30 minutes before you go to bed, and it's just making those incremental changes and making sure there that, kind of like you treat a baby, that you're starting to just soothe the entire nervous system. So lower lighting, maybe some nice music, might be a board game or a conversation with someone you live with. It might be stretching your body. It might do some creative pursuits would be one of the best things you could do. Very mindful, reading, a normal, nothing too stressful. Anything like that that's just going to allow everything to settle, so that once you are ready to go to bed, you can have good quality sleep. So in terms of managing stress and trying to think about work-life balance, those are some of the things that I would recommend.
And I'm nodding my head in agreement with just about everything you said there, but I put my hand up. I'm doing everything wrong at the same time, because before I go to bed, I will check if that urgent email's come through. And as soon as I open my eyes in the morning, I'll reach for my phone to see if an email's come through again. And I think much of the problem is that in the workplace, we all have a game face of some sort, and we don't want to appear weak, and we want to appear strong all the time. And for those reasons, what advice would you share to a manager who maybe has identified a member of their team that seems to be struggling, that's got that brave face on, but there's something not quite right? What steps should they follow?
Yeah, God, it's so true, isn't it? That kind of the perception that we all try and feel, and that is especially hard for men, but for both men and women. I think it's just so important to remember that being more honest, being more of ourselves is only ever going to be the right answer. It certainly creates for bigger bonds and more understanding, and it gives permission for other people to do the same thing. So hard, it requires some courage, but certainly nothing that will ever be regretted, I hope. So if a leader has somebody that they're thinking about that might be struggling, I think the most important thing to remember here is that people need to feel seen and heard, and they need to feel valued and cared for. And so, generally speaking, creating space for somebody, space for a conversation, where they are being asked, like, how are you? How are you? How are you doing? How are you feeling within yourself? What's going on for you? Maybe what's going well, what feels good, what doesn't feel so good, what you're struggling. Is there anything you're struggling with? Any challenges? That kind of thing, like space. And somebody really sitting back and really listening to that. That's going to make somebody feel valued and cared for. And then beyond that, asking them what they need. So all of these unique individuals all have very different needs. So what is it that you need? What is it that you would love to have support with so that you can thrive? And listening to that, and from there going away and speaking probably to the people team, perhaps working with someone like us in terms of actually providing that assistance, those tools, that support. But in the first instance, definitely it's providing that space. And I realize that for some people that will feel they will feel much more confident and comfortable and willing to do that, to have those conversations. And what I would say is that it does take a bit of practice, perhaps, but also there's so much value in simply creating the space, in simply just asking those questions and just showing that care and value is there. So yeah, that's what I would say.
100% with you on that. And just to bring everything to life that we've discussed today, I'm curious, do you have an example of when a company or individual have successfully implemented a wellbeing process or tactic that has been successful, and almost to give a before and after comparison to see just what an impact it can make on a business?
So from an organisation perspective, the people that we've collaborated with in terms of their wellbeing strategy have seen retention rates go up, actually better quality of candidates applying for jobs as well, because of course, certainly for young people, they want to see that companies investing in this type of support. We've seen sickness rates go down, we've seen absences go down, as well as presenteeism, which is hard to actually measure, but in terms of seeing, whether it's anecdotally or visually or through impact, seeing that people are thriving and are more engaged, that's very much reported to us. And impact in terms of how they're actually performing within their roles. As well as that, through the Women Rising program I was talking about, brilliant results there in terms of these women feeling like they are now safe and confident to show up as their authentic selves, to bring more of themselves to the workplace. So also, I'm not going to use the word confident, but feeling comfortable and willing to be more visible and to be seen more. So stepping up to different platforms and different opportunities to use their voice and to be open and be vulnerable and talk about their story and their challenges, which has been so, so powerful. So we've seen some brilliant results there. And then in terms of individuals, yes, hundreds, if not thousands now, of individuals that have seen such amazing successes in this type of work. So that might be from things like decreasing stress and working on a much better work-life balance, for sure. It might also be to do with how they're feeling within them, how they view themselves, how they're feeling within themselves, confidence, how they're able to connect with other people. So very much in terms of relationships as well, right through to, get lots of people at different stages of life that don't really know what brings them joy at that chapter. So really it's all about reconnecting to themselves and understanding what it is that brings them joy and bringing a lot more of that into life. And for individuals as well, and people in the workplace on a broader level, but thinking about the changes that they want to make. So if they want to make big change in their life, whether that is within their roles and the creativity that they can bring in there and how they might want to move throughout an organisation, or whether it is within their personal life. So personal coaching, it might be around relationships or any big changes that need to be made. We see that all the time, which is absolutely wonderful.
Wow, it must be incredibly rewarding work. As I said, I've been nodding my head in agreement through everything that you've said here. I know the things that I do wrong, and I'm going to make a conscious effort to do something different. And in the workplace, we all put on this game face. And it's so important to take health and well-being more seriously, especially in this world of the great resignation that we're seeing, and people are going on to other things. It's important for employees to recognize this. And I also champion the work you're doing there with the Women Rising program as well. But more than anything, just a big thank you, Katy, for coming on here and sharing the great work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a total pleasure.
A big thank you to each and every one of you for tuning into this edition of CIO Water Cooler TV. Remember, there's lots more videos like this on the website. And also remember to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And I hope you'll join us again next time.